Taylor. We are here again. So, this is our follow-up interview. We did one 2 months into the Empath Empowerment Program, and we are actually about a month now past your end date of your original. Actually, no, because I believe it was August 12th, if memory serves,
Yeah.
that you
Yes, we're almost 2 months.
exactly, that you finished your 6 months and then immediately re-up for another year. So I think that's our first indication that the program benefited you, and I couldn't have been more thrilled that you decided not to leave us. So I wanted to do some follow-up questions. I'm going to ask you the same questions I asked you back in, I guess it would have been April of
Probably.
2024, which was 2 months after you started in February. And refresh us, tell us a little bit about yourself and the struggles specific to your mental health that you've had in recent years.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I am 35. I am a mom to two beautiful and wonderful little girls. A handful, though, they are. 3.5, and now one. Just turned one. And I live with my family. My husband and I moved to my family's ranch in the Texas Panhandle almost 2 years ago, and so we live here, and we help run my family's ranch, cattle ranch, and have our girls, and then I work full time in the agriculture industry.
One of the busiest people I think I know, honestly. She has
We have, yep, no lack of things to do.
no, exactly. Sometimes there's multiple days before messages get seen, and it's like, oh, Taylor's in doing
Yeah.
some work or the kids. Or so, and then tell us about more your mental health struggles in recent years.
Yeah, so it's been a tough journey for me. So, I prayed and prayed and prayed for so many years to have my girls and a family, and then I got that wish, and those hopes and those dreams came true, and I was still in a really dark place. And that was a really terrible feeling because I got what I prayed for. My dreams literally came true, and yet I was just living in a mental hell. Um, I ever shortly after my first daughter was born, uh, really started struggling with my mental health. So my anxiety and my depression were very severe. At that time, my husband helped me get help. Uh, and I saw a doctor and I saw a therapist, and well, that helped a little bit. It didn't ever feel like things were fixed or, still not in a good place. But I was so happy, that I had my daughter and we had our family, but there was just still, a darkness. And then when I had my second daughter, it got even significantly worse. And that's when I had pretty severe suicidal ideation. And it was scary. It was very scary and it was very dark. And um, and again, I've been on medication. I had talked to therapists, and while that stuff helped a little bit, I just still didn't feel like it was fixed. I knew it wasn't fixed, and in fact, in some ways, it was getting worse. And then when I went back to work, uh, it was about 4 months postpartum. I would say, my mental health really hit rock bottom, which is the same time that I met Kat.
No, no accidents.
No.
Definitely not. And we were connected by a mutual friend who posted about my $50 mediumship readings. And when you signed up for the reading, it became obvious that your mental health struggles, your motherhood struggles, were related to mental health, which just so happens to be my story in regards to my own suicidal ideation when my children were a little bit older than yours, but not much. And like you, it stemmed from a birth trauma with my second child. I was about the same age as you. So all the signs in the universe were there. As the saying goes, when the student is ready, the teacher appears, right? And
Oh,
it was a blessing
yeah.
for both of us. And I think you shared with me that, what did you say, about 90% of your thoughts were suicidal when we first started together?
We did. Yes, I did. So I would say, yeah, 90% of my day, as long if I was hyper focused on work, I could obviously like tamp that down a little bit. But if if my mind was not hyper focused on something, which is very exhausting, and not something that is sustainable. So of course your mind, so anytime my mind was basically not hyper focused on work, it was consumed by suicidal ideation type of thoughts. And it's we're gonna talk about this, I'm sure, but it's wild to me to think back to that time. Like it feels like a different lifetime ago, but also is not that long ago. And I'm in a completely different mental state now that um, I can't wait to talk about.
Yeah, and I think you shared that within 2 weeks or so, you could feel the shift, right?
I remember at 2 weeks and at 2 months, and then again at probably 5 months were like big leaps for me.
Mhm.
And all of those were big steps at that time that I can vividly remember.
And can you verbalize what those shifts were at that
Yeah.
8 and 5 month mark?
Yeah. So the 2 week one was really like the realization and understanding that the things that I was thinking about myself were actually not my thoughts.
Hmm.
I didn't know how to change them at that mark, but I could it only took me about 2 weeks to really be able to recognize them in the moment and realize that they were not real. And then at 2 months is when I could really actually change I could stop those negative thought patterns. I had the skills then to stop those thoughts, stop all that negative self-talk. Because really my suicidal ideation, right, was coming from 110% negative self-talk
Okay.
track that I had in my brain all
Yeah.
day, every day. And so at the 2 week mark, I could understand why I had a negative negative, sorry, uh, self-talk track. And then um, at 2 months, I had the skills, like I said, to stop it in its tracks and start telling myself a different story when that would happen. And then at 5 months, well, even before that, somewhere between 2 and 5, even, I really, that went down to, 5, 10%, of the time. And now it's essentially never. Not that I never have, a bad thought, but they're just not even, they're so fleeting if they happen, and
Yeah.
they're just instantly replaced by the truth.
I love that so much. And, you're such an asset to the group because, if when I explain something and Taylor's like, "Can I chime in?" I'm like, "Please," because she's about to say something that is so wise and so, makes me such a proud coach, honestly, that I've been able to impart this wisdom to you and that you've been able to integrate it and, make progress so rapidly because that really is to your credit. Let's be clear. Not everybody who enters this program is necessarily going to have those results if they don't have the capacity to really take in the knowledge that is brand new to you. It's certainly not brand new to the planet because what I'm teaching is ancient spiritual wisdom in most cases. But if it's the first time that you've heard it, then it's profound. And really integrating that knowledge into embodied wisdom, right? So you get all the credit for actually doing the work. I'm offering information and healing tools that you are then integrating and implementing. So I definitely want to be clear that, results are very much dependent on the person's willingness and ability to take in the information and really see themselves and the field of mental health care even completely differently from a completely different perspective that does not discount the spiritual realm, the reality of energy and God and a higher power consciousness. So So yeah, so let's get into the more a little bit more of the question. So what was life like before the program? I think you mostly covered that and with what we just talked about. And then what made you decide to join the Empath Empowerment Program?
Yeah. So, uh, as you mentioned, we were connected from a mutual friend, a friend of mine that I've known now for decades. And I saw, so she shared that Kat was doing some mediumship readings, and I joined that because I kept having this thought in the back of my mind, and I kept wondering about my grandparents and if they saw my girls. So I have a couple grandparents that haven't been with me for quite a few years, and so obviously never met my daughters, and but they were both incredibly special to me. And, I would think about them often and wonder if they could see, my life and my girls now. That was what I started. That's what opened up all of this with Kat was that's all I wanted to know. And in that reading with Kat, she was overcome, I think, with signs that something was awry in the realm of motherhood. And uh, you know, wondering if my mother had passed or, things of that nature. And I was just like, no, no, none of that. And but it did not take very long for us to realize that that was pointing directly at me. And so while I did get the confirmation about how how much my grandparents still are a part of our lives, um, it also really opened my eyes to the hell that I was in. And so the more we talked, so Kat and I really talked about um, what she teaches and what she could offer and how she could help me. And the thing that made me want to join the program was the fact that I could see a path to like truly healing this and not just covering it up. So I
Mm.
had talked, I mentioned how, I've been on medication, which I still am. And I don't, it has supported me greatly, right? And I probably wouldn't even be here at all without it. I wouldn't have made it to even meeting you, right? Probably without it. And so while that is supporting me, it certainly was not healing anything or resolving it, and neither was my therapy. And this seemed to me like a path where I could actually get on the other side of all of this darkness, right? This was the first sort of flashlight I had seen that was like in a versus a blanket. Like everything else was like a, you know,
Mm. Like the video has frozen. I don't know if that's just on my side.
maybe the,
Okay.
sorry, I
I go
lost you.
back. Oh, that's okay. Yeah, no,
Okay.
okay. I lost you too.
Um,
You had just used the terminology of flashlight versus a blanket, which I'd never heard before, and
okay.
I was overcome, and then I had a moment to consider it.
Yeah, so those things, felt like comfort,
Yeah,
in the moment. Like they made things better, right? A blanket makes it warmer. Um, but it wasn't really fixing the problem, right? So versus like turning up the thermostat, like that actually,
yeah,
and like that's what I mean about the flashlight. Like that was the thing then that like I could see a path to things actually being fixed and on the other side and healed, um, instead of just
suffering.
yeah, suffering. I mean, it was still suffering, even though those things helped a little bit. It was still in a very
Yeah.
um, bad
And I
place.
had the
And
same
so,
experience. I had tried traditional mental health care for 9 years at that point, going to therapy every single week, seeing different types of therapists for different types of therapy. EMDR I had tried. I even tried a partial hospitalization program. I had tried all the different classes of medications. And while some of it certainly helped, like you said, it was more of a band-aid than a cure.
yeah,
And the things that I teach in this program are the actual tools that help me not just cover up my symptoms, but eradicate them. I no longer deal with suicidal thinking. I no longer deal with daily anxiety or depression. I we're always healing through something for sure. And I'm a perpetual student just as much as I'm a teacher, but the the appeal of these tools is like you said, not just covering up the symptoms, but actually eradicating them and realizing that you don't have to suffer, even if things have happened to you in the past that we obviously can't change, but we can change how we look at the things that have happened to us in the past and the stories that we tell ourselves in our minds about the things that have happened to us, right? So when we're able to shift that thinking, it shifts how we feel, it changes how we attract, and it quite literally changes our reality. And I can think back to when I first started my healing journey, I guess back in 2017 was my suicidal crisis. And but just how much kinder it is to be in this mind space than it used to be. I mean, I used to suffer with just the worst things you can think about yourself. And it was a constant state of criticism where I was just my own worst enemy. I was my own bully. And becoming my own best friend and my own cheerleader and allowing myself to just be imperfect and be authentically myself and not have to perform or people please or be perfect, and allowing the people that are for me to stay and the people that are not to go. It's freeing. It's literally like letting yourself out of a cage.
Yeah. And, you know, uh, I feel like a weight lifted off too, and like an energy change. So
Mhm.
when all of your energy is consumed by these thoughts and that loop, I mean, it's just like it was making me ill, right? Like it was just literally making me sick and tired and depleted. And now I don't have to put energy into that anymore. And
Exactly. You can put your energy into loving these beautiful children of yours and appreciating this life that you prayed for, as you said,
yeah,
right? I love that. So there's a lot of options for mental health practitioners out there, and many of whom accept insurance. So tell us a little bit more about what attracted you to work with me specifically.
I mean, you know, I I could see an actual plan. Cat has a plan. Like this is, there's pillars and there's steps. And while it's a journey and it's a very, I will say, like it is not a linear journey, but there are guardrails. And I could see how, I could see that there were going to be actionable steps to get to the other side versus with therapy, I've never seen something like that, right? Maybe the therapist, maybe, I don't know, has a plan in their mind or a way that they, help people. But for me to be able to see that up, like up front, like how we were going to get there, these are truly the tactical things that you're going to learn and understand to, you know, to really change my life. And they did. Um, and like I said, it was not linear. The journey was not linear. We did not jump from this exact point to this step to this step. It's five forward, maybe two back, six forward, three back, whatever that dance looks like. But at least I knew going into it that it wasn't intended to also be a never ending thing. Like there was clear path to getting on the other side. And while of course I'm like so excited for the next year and because it's just continued growth, right? But I don't feel like it's just never ending. Like we sort of also did achieve a big goal in my life and and how I function every day. But now also I have the opportunity to keep growing. Whereas in therapy, I've sort of always felt like it never had an end goal. It
Yeah.
was just going to always kind of be spinning the wheel.
Exactly. And it's worth noting that you did decide to re-up, not even for 6 more months, but for an entire year.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit more your thinking in regards to that.
Absolutely. So, I talked already about how, I started at really rock bottom, right? So a place of just 90% thoughts dominated by negative self-talk. And, in 6 months, I essentially then got back to a little bit above neutral, right? So not only did I stopped all of that. Um, and I'm starting to really like myself. I'm in like really like, and I can see now how putting in more work and learning and just continuing in this, I can now move all the way over, to our new goal of basically delusional self-love, and I'm so excited for that.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. And it's actually not delusional. It's very wise, but it
yes,
seems delusional in a culture that tells especially women that we can't trust ourselves, right? And especially trauma survivors that we can't trust ourselves, or people who struggle with addictions, you know, whereas my program teaches you that the enemy isn't you, it's your mind. It's the mind that was programmed by all the trauma that you've been through and all the bullies and abusers that you've had. And you can deprogram that mind. You can deconstruct that mind space. In fact, you can really clear it out and become so mindful and in the present moment that you start to realize that the evidence of the divine within and around us is actually everywhere. And when you align your energy and you really develop that present moment awareness and you're no longer weighed down by the thoughts that are then producing these crappy feeling emotions that we call anger and resentment and despair and anxiety and depression and even things like hopelessness and pessimism and boredom, right? All these things on the lower end of the scale that are no fun to feel, those are a direct result of the thoughts that you are thinking. And only you have the capacity to think different thoughts. Therefore, only you can change the way you feel. And when you realize that you have that power
power.
and that you're not even doing it alone, that the higher self aspect of you is real, is connected in this real moment, in this now moment, I should say, outside of this time space reality, and can literally see your life from the bird's eye perspective and guide you from where you are to where you want to be through your intuition. And you accept that as true and not crazy, delusional, a lot of people might label what I just said. The fact is it's real, and I'm proving it in real time for myself and for my clients that when you tune out of the mind and into the present moment, magic is really all around us. And we are being supported by God, the universe, anyone that we've ever lost, our angels, our ancestors, the ascended masters. It's very real. And I'm just so grateful that you've trusted me to be your guide in this journey because it's truly been a pleasure. And like I said, couldn't be more thrilled to have you. All right, let's keep going here. What's your favorite thing about working together?
Ooh, that's a good question. Um, sorry. I'm having like there's just so many things going through my mind. I think it is how you apply, like how it really is your teaching style, right? And it's how you use real world experiences to bring the concepts forward, right? So as proof, like it's really it's such you have such a way to demonstrate these things versus just telling, right? So, instead of just black and white, like, right, this is how it is, you present the concept, but then can use real world examples from your own life, from, friends or other just people in your life. Now even myself, I can use those examples, with the other people in the group, but to show and prove how real this stuff is. And and that's fun. Like it's honestly fun, to just like it's not just you, and it's not just Kat, it's not just me, it's not just, you know, um these things happening to a single person. Like it really is the universe showing this in real time all the time. And the stories that we've exchanged, of just these synchronicities are just wild. And then when I started to see them in my own life, I was just like, oh my God, this is just like it's wild. And so I really love that style. It's really easy to grasp concepts that way when you see real examples, and to start learning how to trust, your own intuition and apply those things in your own life.
Yeah, absolutely. And the I call myself an evidential medium because, as Taylor's saying, I don't just report the news, let's say, that spirit gives me in my own mind, but rather spirit shows me obvious synchronicities that I can literally take photos of or explain in a way that helps the people that I work with to demonstrate the reality that when we're tuned into our intuition, we really are all thinking with the same mind, you could say. There's a divine mind, um, that we call, or divine intelligence that, we might use the word God or source energy, that the higher aspect of us is tuned into. So when we are present in that moment and we are receiving from our intuition, anyone who's receiving from their intuition can facilitate truly magical, what are called synchronicities, coincidences that just literally could not be coincidences and are truly being orchestrated by the divine itself. So I'm glad to know it's fun for you too, because it lights me I can't even believe that I get to call what I do work sometimes because it's just so much fun. Okay. What results, big and small, have you gotten from working together?
Uh, you know, Obviously the biggest one is just the fact that like my mind is, and just the weight, it's just open and it's freeing, and there's so much light and happiness, and it's been incredible in my day to day to be able to not let things just consume me emotionally. And I see it in work and in my personal life, and with my kids and my husband and my family, and just day to day I can manage those emotions that used to just would have just crippled me, right, for many days. And then my mind would have been consumed. I mean, just that state of being is so exhausting. And I'm not, putting anything into positive, in my life when I was in that kind of a state, right? And so I feel like I can be present with my girls. Today at lunch, we had a big dance party and we had a blast. And that's something I never we hadn't done, right? And honestly, ever until in the last couple months. And now we have dance parties, and I get to enjoy, the moments and the time, and it's just the gratitude. It's the overwhelming feeling of gratitude now for what I have and the life I have and the opportunity I have to live this life.
Mm,
I mean, it's it's just truly night and day difference when you can be truly grateful for even the hard stuff, right? Because the hard stuff teaches us new lessons, and now the hard stuff doesn't cripple me. It's just more opportunities for learning, and it's opportunities to grow. And you and I have talked about this. If when we pray, um, God doesn't give us exactly what we ask for. He gives us the opportunity to get what we asked for.
yeah.
And, if he gives you, if you pray for courage or strength or bravery, he gives us opportunities to um, to use those skills or to be brave, right? So you get an opportunity to be brave versus just truly giving you bravery, right? And now I just feel like I can see those opportunities and can use them to grow, and it's been fun.
Yeah. And I'm just so grateful for the that we found each other in time because to know Taylor truly is to love her. I mean,
Thank
you
you.
really are such an incredible person and in every sense of the word. And to know that you finally see that in yourself and you're really growing, not just from liking yourself, but to really loving yourself, and that you are going to be able to teach your girls what that looks like, and what it looks like to practice that, not just to say it, but to practice that, and how you stand up for yourself and how you're growing in your career, and um, you're just such a gift to us, and I love you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you.
So how has life changed with such amazing results?
Yeah, we're we're getting to put energy, into the ranch and into our plans for our future, and the whole, reason why we made such a big life change a couple years ago. And you know, you only have so much energy, and so now I get to put it into the dream of what we wanted and what we wanted for our family, and and my, right, same thing, my career and my kids. And I just feel a sense of peace uh, all the time, even again, even in the hard times, or at least when I'm not feeling peace, it's very short-lived. And that is radical from the place that I started in, right?
Absolutely.
So,
And it definitely highlights the fact that life is never going to stop handing us opportunities for growth. That's actually the point of life.
yeah,
We come to this earth to grow and to expand and to evolve, and that comes with discomfort because you can't, by definition, grow in your comfort zone. And it comes with experiences that are really hard and even painful to go through sometimes, but you don't have to suffer. The pain is inevitable, but the suffering is a choice.
is a
And
choice.
when you live your life truly by faith and, not by sight, but by faith in yourself and your connection to that higher self aspect of you that is very, very real and is very much present in all of us. It's just that for most of us, it's been buried under, decades, if not entire lifetimes of trauma. And because trauma isn't just the big T stuff, trauma is especially if you have a narcissistic parent, for example, or partner, or you have experienced a significant bullying in your life, or even just a sibling who got preferential treatment. These types of things are actually traumas that impact us. And of course, the bigger the trauma, the bigger the impact, but small traumas still have small impacts. You know, and not everything is, even things that seem small can be really, really big when it comes to the quality of your life experience, right? So your ability to find that alignment with the truth that even in the hard times, you're being guided by God, by your higher self, by your angels and your coach, that and that for every problem there is a solution. And, God does not hand us anything that we do not have the ability to get through. We don't get served problems that we don't have the ability to solve, but solving them requires aligning with the answer and then taking action on that answer.
Yeah, and I would say that uh, I uh oh shoot, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. Oh, that when you said walk in faith, and I now truly know strength is really knowing that no matter what comes my way, it was meant for me, right? And so I used to live under a just a shell of fear and wanting to control everything that happened, to me. I thought all these things were happening to me, and I was trying to control that, which was a obviously a losing battle. That was not a successful strategy. Didn't work. Um,
Controlling your life is definitely not a successful strategy, but
no,
people spend very long time doing it, or at least attempting.
right. And that's the big shift is I went from trying to control all of these things that I obviously have no control over and feeling like I was a victim and those things were like, why is this happening to me? To instead truly believing and understanding and having faith that all of these things were meant for me, that my higher self, my angels, and God are guiding me on this exact path for a reason, and that all of this is okay,
Yes.
right? That's what I didn't have before because I felt like all of those things were not okay. And because of the trauma and the stories and and the want to control all of that. And now when, the hard things hit, it's like, okay, this is still okay because no matter what happens, this this was supposed to happen and this was meant for me, but I also am not in it alone. And uh that's truly, being Cat connecting me, with you connecting me to my angels and to all of my loved ones, throughout this whole program. That's another thing is, throughout all of this, you've connected me in different ways to my own angels and my loved ones that have aren't here on earth, but they're still so here. And Cat's a connection to those people all the time. And so I truly know I'm not alone. And I know that they're not giving me anything I can't handle. And that is just life changing.
Yes. Well, the investigative mediumship work that I do for my clients in my container, yours was probably the favorite investigation that I've done. Your sister. It was just so magical because rainbows were a sign that her sister said to recommend to look out for. And just a few days later, I was on a bike ride with my son, and there was absolutely no rain, and yet the most magical full rainbow appeared over the lake, and I was in awe, as I always am, at the divine, and even more specifically, just people who lived on Earth. Your sister lived 2 days,
Two
correct?
days.
2 days, and yet, she's still very much with you and has sent you so many magical signs now. So it definitely helps the grieving process a lot to know that they're really not gone, when even though
Yeah.
they're not physically present with us. So
Yeah.
amazing. Someone asked you to join the Empath Empowerment Program. What would you tell them?
Oh, do it. It's the best decision you could ever make. Um, and unfortunately, if you're talking to Kat, you're probably not in a great place right now. And my heart goes out, to everyone that is struggling, and because I've been there. But this is an opportunity for your life to be different. And I couldn't think of a better person to guide you that has guided me. And I will just always be eternally, obviously, grateful to Kat and who she is. But if you are, in a place where you need help and you feel lost and you feel like you've tried all these different things and you're still ready and you're still willing to try again, then this is the answer.
Thank you so much. Last question. What are you most excited about for the future, Taylor?
I am I think about this all the time, but now, I'm going to get to raise my daughters like with this perspective on life and this knowledge. I've asked Kat, like, why didn't anyone teach me this? Um, and my girls won't have to ask that. And, they're going to understand this perspective on life. And, I hope from a very young age be able to, love themselves and be authentically themselves. And I'm so excited to see them grow in that. I'm excited to see myself grow into that. Obviously, I'm in a stage of my life where time to do things that are authentically me are very small.
Hence the interview 2 months after you ended your initial 6 months.
Yes.
This is literally the first time slot that we could come up with.
Um, but I'm just still so excited for that I didn't leave Earth, right? And that I get to raise my girls and be with my family and have the dream that we wanted and experience that dream.
Well, I'm so grateful that you're still here on Earth as well. And you have decades and decades to impart this wisdom to your girls and to every generation thereafter. And you, like me, were a very good student. So if they were teaching this stuff in schools, we would have known it. Right?
Yeah.
They're not teaching this stuff in schools, and that's a problem. And it's certainly something that I hope to help facilitate as my, scope of influence increases, because this is the type of thing stuff that we really need to know. How to regulate our emotions, how not to stay stuck in your trauma stories and have it affect the rest of your life. How to really become present and aware so that you can feel gratitude for this life that you created, and also really start to tune into the literal magic that is available to all of us when we literally get out of our heads and into our hearts. So,
Yeah.
thank you so much for joining me. Thanks for finding the time in your incredibly busy
Yes.
schedule. And I'm just so grateful for you.
Same. Thank you, Kat.
Thanks, Taylor.